My name is Bryant Fitts. I'm a lawyer located in Houston, Texas. We help our clients in personal injury matters such as car and truck accidents and industrial explosions. Quite often I get this question, hey, if I have a herniated disc or a bulging disc, what's that worth? And I'm making this video today to try to explain that. There really is no one way to put the value on a herniated or bulging disc. We have to look at a number of factors. Number one, anytime you're asking a defendant or a company who has injured you or an individual who hit you in a car accident to compensate you for a bulging or a herniated disc, we have to understand whose fault was it really for you receiving that herniated or that bulging disc. So number one, we have to establish who's responsible for your accident and your injury. And there's various ways to determine that. In a car or truck accident setting, we're going to look at who violated the rules of the road to injure who. And a lot of times if somebody runs a red light, liability is clearly at fault. Sometimes there's car accidents to where there's a question, maybe two different cars are share some degree of fault. So if the person who injured you isn't 100% at fault, well then the value of your herniated or your bulging disc claim is going to be lower. But if they're 100% fault, your value is going to be higher. So the percentage or the total amount of responsibility the person who injured you is going to dictate the value of your herniated disc claim. You also have to determine when and how your bulging or your herniated disc occurred. A lot of times a herniated or bulging disc occurs through a traumatic event. Traumatic event can be a car accident, a truck accident, an industrial or petrochemical refinery explosion where you're blown off your feet. They can also be caused over time. And when they're caused over time, your medical records will say that you have what's called a degenerative disc or degenerative disc condition. What they're saying is your spine or your neck has been breaking down over time and it's developing a bulging or herniated disc. Now, there are a number of people in this world that are living with bulging discs or herniated discs, and it's not affecting their life at all. And they have what's called that degenerative condition, but they don't know they have it. They're experiencing no pain. Well, then all of a sudden they have some sort of traumatic event, such as a car accident, truck accident, or an explosion, and all of a sudden their back or their neck is hurting severely. They go to the doctor and learn that they've got a bulging or herniated disc. Now, under the law, there's a theory called the eggshell plaintiff theory, which means that whoever hits you or damages you must take you as you were before you were injured. And the theory is if you had some sort of a eggshell on the outside and it was cracked, and then you fell down, kind of like Humpty Dumpty, that even if you were already cracked, they got to pay you for the damages. That's the same thing if you have a degenerative condition with a herniated disc. Now, in a settlement posture, typically if you have some medical records that indicate you have a degenerative condition with your herniated disc or your bulging disc, that's going to decrease the value of your claim. And the reason why it decreases the value of your claim is because the other side knows. They know that when you go to trial, even though the eggshell plaintiff theory is there, you have to explain away why you didn't have back or neck pain previously, yet the medical records indicate you had some sort of degenerative back or neck or issue in the herniation or the bulging of the disc. Now, one of the best ways to increase the value or to make sure you're getting maximum value for a bulging or a herniated disc is to have some sort of a baseline MRI that was taken before you were injured to prove that your spine or your neck was clear. It had no herniations and had no bulging discs. Very, very, very few people have that, but if you do have that, you want to obtain that medical record immediately and make sure your medical professional has it, and also make sure your lawyer, if you've chosen to hire a lawyer, make sure they have that record, because that will diffuse any argument that this condition occurred before the accident you were involved in. Now, assuming you've properly established that you have a herniated disc or a bulging disc that was caused by somebody else, and you're trying to convince them to pay you money for that damage, you've got to establish your pain and suffering and your lost wages. The best way to establish your pain and suffering is to keep a diary of what you're able to do today versus what you were able to do before the accident. Most people will say, hey, I used to be so active and now I can't do anything. I sit around on the couch. We don't find that to be very compelling. Most of the time, it's something in the middle to where you used to be active, but when you mow the lawn, you can't do certain things when you mow the lawn. So you've got to be very detailed as to the things you could do before and to the things you can do after. If you make blanket statements that you were just, super active and the color of health before and now you can't do anything, that's very hard to sell to a jury and very hard to sell to an insurance adjuster or defense lawyer who's trying to settle your claim. You've got to be detailed in the things you can and can't do before and after. Typically, creating a journal will help you do that. And you day by day, you can sit down every night and go, what was different today than before the accident? I tried to mow the yard or I tried to work out and I couldn't do XYZ exercise because my neck or my back hurt so bad. Now, in terms of lost wages, if you're trying to see what your bulging disc or your herniated disc is worth, you need to establish your lost wages. If you can establish lost wages, your herniated or your bulging disc will be worth more money. How do you establish your lost wages? Well, number one, you've got to prove that you were going to earn money and you didn't earn the money because you were hurt. Simply not going to work is not enough. You've got to show that you didn't go to work because you were hurt. So if you take off work or you can't go to work because of your bulging or your herniated disc, you need to have some sort of proof in your employment file. Get your employer to write you a letter saying, we're so sorry you missed today's, this XYZ day of work because your back was bothering you so bad. That way you can look at what you should have made that day and what you didn't make that day and present that to the insurance company or the other side to increase the value of your bulging or your herniated disc and also place the value on your bulging or herniated disc. So in summary, there's many, many, many factors. I've touched on some of them today, but it's very hard to put a flat dollar value on a herniated or a bulging disc. It all depends on the degree of fault of the person that hurt you, what your back or your spine looked like before the accident, how well you have reported your injuries, and how well you have explained what you can do before and after, and also how well you've documented your pain and suffering and your lost wages. If you have any questions about the value of a herniated disc or a bulging disc in a personal injury setting, please ask in the comment section below or give us a call at 1-800-99-FITS or contact us through our website.